Hey, welcome to Philly Tech Talk. My name is Rich Ross, and I am joining you here from our studios in Malvern, Pennsylvania. Uh, I am honored to be joined tonight by a special guest host. Bring him up here. It's Andy Schwam. Hey, Andy. Nice. Good to have you back. You were just last week. Yeah, I think this makes you certainly the most uh, the person who's appeared most on any one of our streams or talk shows. So that's a distinct honor to have, but maybe. Excellent. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. So Chris is unfortunately fortunately for him, he is off at a softball, I guess, tournament, or yeah, they're at least in the finals or part of the playoff system there. So he's off watching that. Well, for his daughter, yes, that's true. Right. Yep. Let me make sure my is it probably wasn't. So
I'm not on? No
you're
audio?
on now. Yeah.
All my good jokes were
Yeah,
probably so anyone who tunes in now would miss all my good jokes. They missed it all.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
Kind of unfortunately the way it happened. So great to have you back here. I know there's a couple things we wanted to kind of chat about. Some of the cool stuff you're doing around DevOps. We want to try and maybe do a little bit of coding around some things that might integrate and intersect with DevOps a little bit.
Yeah, I think it would be really fun. There's a lot going on these days, and I like this whole idea of like live coding and things like that. I was on the show last week, and Chris did some demos, but we didn't actually well, I wasn't involved in writing some code, and you weren't. I think Chris did some.
Yeah.
But it looks kind of interesting. It looks like a little risky. It's keep on our toes, and it should be fun.
A little flying without a net. I mean, Chris is certainly pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Watching him do this, so we're going to give it a shot tonight.
I'm excited.
So I don't know if you had a chance to see, there were E3 is this week,
right?
And I know as part of the kind of the end of the stream we had last time, there was a good conversation around gaming and some of the various games that people are interested in playing and things of that nature. So I don't know if you had a chance to see any of the announcements or what's going on out there.
So why don't you tell me about some of it? I'm not so much of a gamer. I know a lot of people that like to stream. I know that some guys were talking about some gaming stuff last week when I was on. I know Chris would be excited.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll learn some stuff.
Yeah, so a couple of big things. Now, I'll be honest, I really only, because it's been a busy week so far, have only gotten to hear the announcements that we at Microsoft did Sunday around some of the Xbox things to go with that. So I think we announced what we're calling Project Scarlet, which is the next version of Xbox console, essentially. So and all the full hardware have that, and there's a link that we'll put in the notes around the videos that are up there around that for YouTube video that walks through the advancements that they're making from a hardware perspective, things they're doing. I think one of the comments was SSD for some of the aspects of it. So there was some really great specs, and if you're into geeking out on the numbers as far as what's possible with the new hardware, some really great. So we'll put a link to that. I think one of the other things that I really was interested in was there's a new Ultimate Game Pass coming. So Game Pass gives you the ability to basically do a subscription model and play games, be able to without having to go and buy,
Right. That's cool.
It is, and what they've done with Ultimate is kind of combined all together. So instead of having a separate Gold to do or Xbox Live, sorry, to do your for your account for doing all of your online gaming, is all into one act and making that
I saw something on regular, I don't know where it was, in some news of whether it was Microsoft or something like that. And I remember a headline, and maybe this is what you're talking about. I remember a headline saying something like, Microsoft is going to be the Netflix of gaming. And I was wondering if they were talking about what you're talking about there, where it's just all there for you.
So I think there's a couple, there might be a couple things around that. There's certainly the Ultimate Game Pass and the Xbox Game Pass that lets play games. And what happens, at least now in the current model, is those games Steam, your Xbox,
right,
that you have, and they run from there. Where starting to head towards, probably getting the branding wrong in this, people calling it cloud.
Okay.
But essentially streaming of games
Yeah.
off of, from the cloud
So the game is it's still in the cloud and you're streaming it down, and it's unbelievable.
to mobile and tablet devices. Yeah.
Wow.
And then also having the ability to have your Xbox One be local streaming.
Okay.
So you could stream inside of your house.
Right. Right.
So some of those things are going to come over, of course, it's like 6 months out. But those things that are, kind of coming along the line, which is pretty cool. That's a different way of gaming, certainly consoles.
Yeah. Now the current Xbox hardware, well, do you need a new Xbox to do that, or does the Xbox support that?
I believe it is.
Maybe I'm throwing too much at you. Yeah.
I will look that up and see that when we get a chance. But,
Okay.
I thought the comment was that it was part of the same Xbox One.
Now I still have an Xbox 360.
Okay.
So what are the chances that my 360? I know there's no chance it's going to work. So we have a 360 because, I mean, I shouldn't even say this on a, we're on Twitch and things like that, and people are into gaming, but we still like the Kinect.
Yeah.
So we still got the 360 with the Kinect.
I love my Kinect.
I think it's it's just a shame. I know hardcore gamers, might think, sort of look down upon that, but that was cool technology.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Even so, the gaming aspect of it was awesome. Be the controller, as say.
Right.
But I think the other thing that still makes it cool, because it's kind of that voice interface.
Yeah.
Still walking into the room and saying, Xbox on, and have that just start up while I'm still moving into the room. Almost shouting it as I walk through. Right?
Yeah.
So everything lights up.
That's really cool. Yeah.
That's the fun part. Or the other way around, where pause as you're running out the door of the phone or what have you.
Yeah, that is good.
Anything. So the Xbox controller and that whole audio thing, that was perfect.
That's awesome.
And still do it, so it's pretty cool. So there's we also announced that the new Halo game is coming out, console that'll launch the holiday next year. So
that'll be a big hit.
That will be
right.
That looks good.
So there'll be like a branded console, probably. Like that's what they do with those things, right?
Yeah, I think they're saying for holiday of 2019. So we have a little. Of
course, for holiday.
Yeah,
right. Maybe I'll get a new one.
There you go. You might be due.
Oh, I'm due. No, we're due. There's no question we're due. Listen, if my son, who actually I didn't tell you this, but my son was like, I want to watch the stream tonight, because he's 11. He's into streams and all this kind of stuff. He might. But so if I said we were getting an Xbox, a new Xbox, he'd be pretty excited to hear that.
Oh yeah.
So I am not confirming. In case he's on now, I am not confirming that we're getting a new Xbox. It would be seemingly time.
Yeah. So if you're on, please respond in the chat so we can see.
Yeah. They were going somewhere tonight, so hopefully he'll be home soon. And he said he would.
He'll go back to get the DVR version of this.
Yeah, he'll be looking back.
So we do have a couple of people on in the chat.
Yeah. Amine?
Amini?
Oh, Amini.
Depends where you put the syllable, right?
It does.
Hey, from Algeria. Good to see you.
Hello. Yeah, Algeria. How cool is that?
Yeah.
We're worldwide.
Who knew?
Let me ask you something, and I might make this joke a few times while I'm on tonight, but when Chris is on, there's no one from Algeria, right? But when I'm on, we're bringing in people like a worldwide audience.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, at least we get people who comment that they're from worldwide, which is great. So welcome.
So hello.
Thanks for coming in.
Hello.
Hopefully, if you have other comments or suggestions, we are this show is basically for you all. So we'd love to see what you guys are doing. So and feel free to comment as we're making our way through our commentary and the codes we're doing here. So let's see. Anything else interesting in your world?
I've been really busy, been ramping up for spring and summer and all these kind of things. And so, I haven't been watching like a lot of, tech news kind of things.
Yeah.
I did see that they pushed out a new version of 2019 preview, Visual Studio 2019 preview.
Awesome.
Which had some, I think, performance fixes and nothing earth shattering. But it was cool that I saw, talking about what we did last week. Last week, Chris was showing how the new switch statement in C# 8 works and how cool that is, and you can simplify it.
So do me a favor.
Yep.
go like this.
This hand?
Yep, there you go.
Okay.
So in that corner,
Yeah.
that's where we're going to go ahead and put the little video link to Chris last week.
Oh, okay, yeah. So click on this right here, right? I feel kind of silly because it's not there.
Well, that's what green screen makes you feel silly.
Yeah, right. So we talked about C#8 and the switch statement, and so I guess they found out, or they've been hearing that that's a cool feature that people like. That's a syntax change that people are happy with. So they put in that you can sort of like I don't always know the names of the things, but the exclamation point. You click on the code and you see the tip.
Yep.
And you could click on it, and it will take your old style syntax switch statement and turn it into the new style. One click, you've got the new style.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
I think those things are cool because it takes us a while to get used to the new syntax. We know we like it, but we're not always like writing it. Our brains still think about the old way, and so we can do something like that and see the new one, and then go, yeah, all right, how do I want to write that better next time myself?
Yeah.
But it's a cool transitional tool, I think.
Yeah, and it would have been neat to see. I know we've had conversations a couple of shows ago in other forums and things like that. Link syntax.
Yeah.
Well,
there's what some people call query syntax.
Yes.
There's link operators and link. Oh God, I used to know the name when I used to do my link talks. I used to really know the names of them. Operators and I forget. I forget what the other one's called, but yeah, there's two syntaxes. People call it the SQL syntax, and the Lambda syntax, but that's not what they're called. Yeah.
No, but that would have been neat to have that capability.
I've seen that. Now maybe that was a ReSharper plugin.
Okay.
I know that at some point I've seen that, and I always say it's really hard to remember which things are part of Visual Studio, which things are something that like I've downloaded all these great extensions that like Mads writes and all these kind of things, right?
Yeah.
And which of these are ReSharper or a third-party tool that I'm paying for? I don't know, but I've seen that in action, so that could be done.
Yeah. Do you still use ReSharper, or do you still have that in your
So
machine?
interestingly, I've been a fan of ReSharper for a long time, and there he is. Benny's on. Hey, Benny, what's up, buddy? He's on. That's my boy Benny. Football talk. He had a stream himself for a little while where he's talking about football, and I'm encouraging him to do some more episodes.
Yeah,
so
especially with the new season starting.
Yeah. So too bad he missed the stuff when we were talking about Xbox. I think maybe he just got on. I don't know. So what was it? Oh, so I used. I'm a fan of ReSharper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a great product. But I'm trying to not use it right now. There's so many. The extensibility story with Visual Studio is so strong,
right?
That there's so many plugins. Thanks to Roslyn and all that. There are so many great plugins that are out there, and Visual Studio has gotten better and better. And I'm certainly not looking to knock any products.
No.
Because I think, and I know you're not either. ReSharper is a great product.
Yep.
But it does slow down Visual Studio a little bit. At least, some people may say I'm wrong. Maybe they've gotten it better. But I'm trying to go without it. I'm actually using an extension called the Roslinator. I think it's called the Roslinator. Okay. Somebody wrote, let's look it up and see. I think there's like, Rider from JetBrains is another ID that someone's talking about. I've never used Rider. I've heard really good things about Rider. Rider, right? Rider is JetBrains interface IDE, full IDE for making .NET code.
No, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, like I guess it's a competitor to Visual Studio. I've heard very good things about it. I also know a lot of people are just switching to use VS Code now.
Yeah. Without
Visual Studio, which that's just my brain says I'm writing C#. Go to Visual Studio. So anyway, I don't know if you found this. What's that? Right?
I think
it depends. When I'm doing things like Angular and a lot of JavaScript stuff, I'm all in VS Code and things like that, and it's great, lightweight for just text editing, and oh my god, I mean the growth in that thing's phenomenal, right?
Yeah. And with the plugins, you can get you can do some pretty cool stuff that's pretty close to Studio.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? So anyway, did you find that you were looking?
Yeah. So Roslinator.
It's got a lot of features, and then we can give a shout out to I don't know who created it. I'll bring it up on my screen too, just so I can, if I want to scroll over and look at it.
I'm live.
Yeah.
So this is in the Visual Studio Marketplace. So I guess that's where the add-in popped into or from.
Yeah. So if you look at the list of somewhere, there's a list of features in this thing.
Yeah, there's a list of
analyzers and refactorings, and it's pretty impressive. Now I don't know. Can we see who made it? We give a shout out to Yosef. I'm guessing it's Joseph or Yosef Hirt, right?
Yeah.
65,000 installs.
Nice. 200,
almost 300,000 downloads. So this guy's rocking, or she. I guess that's usually a guy's name, right? So I mean, look at the features on this thing, and this is what I've been trying to use this. I mean, you don't even have to slow down, but just scrolling through these things, right? Add this, add that. These are what, the refactorings?
Yeah, these are all
duplicate member. You know, there is this thing is strong. Now I don't know if they take community contributions. I haven't really looked into it too much. I'm sure there's a GitHub. This says 5 pull requests, so it doesn't look like there's a ton of action on there.
But they're recent. I mean, yeah, I mean, 8 days ago.
Yeah, so it's always good to see, recent activity.
Definitely.
That's always a sign of a healthy repo, right?
91 releases.
Yeah,
not bad, right?
Okay. Maintained and things like that. So I've been using this. I've been pretty happy with it. It's cool, and it's probably not going to get the kind of support. And I don't mean any disrespect to the creators, but probably doesn't get the same support that a paid product like ReSharper is going to get. That's.
So it says worked with Visual Studio 2015. You've tried it with.
I have not. Well, I'm using it. Yeah, I noticed that. I'm using it with 2019.
Okay.
And their website says VS extension for 2017 is what I saw.
Oh, really?
So, but it works. From my experience, it works in 2019. I'm assuming, like you say, the pull request, they probably should update this page so that people would know that Statue's on. Hey, Statue, how are you, bud? Just saw him, I guess it was
last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday, yeah, he was at the meeting. Matter of fact, right after he left, I don't know if he knows this, right after he left, Chris called him out and said, "Oh, I wish Statue was here," because I had a question about. He was talking about how great C# is getting, and said Statue would probably say, "Oh, why don't you just use F# if you want all those features or something like that." So, there's that. So that's that Roslinator. Seemed pretty cool.
Yeah, and so there is a separate install for
I
2017.
See that.
So,
yeah. So I'm assuming I used the one that doesn't say 2017. Now there's actually a couple other things. Roslinator refactorings. Oh, there's a 2019. Now I don't recall. I have such a bad memory. Maybe these were all there when I used it, and what do I know, right?
I am gonna have to check that one out. See what that one's like. That's cool.
Statue's responding in here. This is cool. Like I said, this is new for me. Chris is usually driving from, and like doing a lot of talking with you, and now I'm like, this is cool. There's chat going on, and oh yeah, sure. You always have to pick up the wife. You got to take care of the important things. The Statue's saying, but it's interesting. You got I always wonder how Jeff Fritz does it. Where he's coding like crazy. He's got a lot of chat going, right? Because he's popular, and we're trying to be
right.
Coding and there's bots doing things, and it's all just fascinating. It's a lot of moving parts,
and it's just having watched him do it. It's just and there are things, especially with all the scene stuff, where I kind of like Chris box.
Exactly right.
What is that?
Now, it's impressive. So so that's the story. We were talking a little bit about extensions for Visual Studio. And how did we get into this? Well, I was talking about Visual Studio 2019 preview and new features and things like that. And so there's a lot going on. There's always a lot going on. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, even when it's in between conferences and in between the news cycle, there's always something being released.
It doesn't even matter. And I'm not super, I would say connected to the exact news all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are like, attending the daily stand-ups from like the .NET team and things like that. I have a job, right? If my boss is watching, be happy to hear that it's hard to find time to carve out for those things.
Yep.
If you really stay in touch, there's even more, and you can just keep taking in more information and tips and things like that. Most people, I think, kind of go in batches, right? Where you say, oh, I've got some time, I'm going to catch up on like the last couple of weeks of news or something like that. That's the way I do it.
Yeah, and that's kind of it. You get a little bit of downtime. It's like, all right, what videos can I see to kind of see what's going on and bring myself back to speed.
And you might say those would be good times to go to the YouTube Philly.net channel. How about that? That's what Chris would say. I'm trying to channel my inner Chris.
Right.
And check out some of the videos from either Code Camp or from some of the weekly meetings, right? And you can learn all kinds of stuff and catch up with all kinds of things.
Yeah. Definitely.
Or you could go to Tech Bash. I'm wearing my Tech Bash t-shirt today. I thought that would be cool. TechBash.com. Great conference. Thought I'd mention.
So you can cycle through and bring up the webpage so that you can
now you have to put it there because I put my finger up.
Put your finger there.
See, if I do that, you have to put a link. There'll be a link.
Right.
No, Rich might not put a link.
Nice. Well, I mean, so you do have your own channel from the Tech Bash.
We do have a Tech Bash channel, thanks to your guys' help.
And where there's a good, what do we end up with, like 10 videos up there? Plus the testimonials.
Probably. Yeah, and we're hoping you guys are hopefully going to be streaming some stuff for us again this year.
Yeah, definitely.
So November 12th to 15th. You could watch some streaming stuff. We'd rather have you come out to the Kalahari Resort in the Poconos for Tech Bash.
TechBash.com.
TechBash.com. It's 3 full days of breakout sessions and keynotes, 1 day of workshops. And anyone who's watching who's wondering, we are in the process of selecting our speakers. We got such a response this year.
Nice.
So what we didn't realize is we're like saying, bring it on, submit. We want you to submit. We want you to submit. We want everybody to submit. It's a lot of submissions to go through. Wow. It was a little mind-boggling trying to choose from way, way, way more sessions than we ever received in the past, which is great problem to have, as many people would say. Great problem to have.
That just goes to, this is the 4th?
This will be the 4th year. Hard to believe,
And I was there for the first time for me last year.
Yeah.
A lot of people really well attended, a lot of great sessions, a lot of great activities for, think about where it's located and the time of year it's located, a lot of cool stuff, family and the kids. That's Friday night or the evening thing you did with the family.
We do game night.
Game night, that's
that's fun. So I was skeptical. I don't want to go too far down all that path, but I was like, game night.
Right.
Honestly, I'm like, well, people don't want to do game night. That's awesome. Game night was like the best part of it. It really was great. It was tons of fun.
Definitely.
So,
cool.
So what do we want to talk about?
Let's see. So I think one of the interesting things, and this comes to your DevOps, right? You've had some really interesting experience around Mike.
Yeah.
Kind of moving from TFS on-prem.
2017.
Okay, nice.
Yep, we went from TFS 2017 to Azure DevOps.
Excellent.
Or as people at work call it, the new TFS.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's called the new TFS. I can understand why. It's a hard habit to break. They've been using it for a long time.
Sure.
And it really is a lot of the same features.
Yep.
But it's always like, how's the new? They either call it the new TFS or they call it Azure. They say, oh, I have a question about Azure. And they're talking about Azure DevOps, which is
because to them, that's kind of their interface.
Well, that's so far the experience that a lot of people have had with Azure, right?
Yeah.
So they're learning, and we've been working on some sort of like vocabulary, like let's call things the right things, because it's going to get confusing when we're pumping 200 apps into Azure, which we're going to be doing, this year and then probably next year, keep migrating them. But we did this full migration from TFS 2017 to Azure DevOps. I think we mentioned it last week on the show a little bit. Somehow it came up. But I thought, it'd be kind of fun to talk about some of the what went well and what didn't and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what was your, I guess, from your on-premises environment? How many apps were we talking about? How many? What is that? What was the footprint you were trying to move up into Azure? And was everything going to go, or you're being selective?
Well, you're talking about the Azure DevOps, right? Azure DevOps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we followed that one team project to rule them all philosophy, which I'd actually seen it called that on blog posts. Right?
Okay.
We had one big project in TFS, and there's a million code repositories in there.
Yeah.
You know, not a million, but, you know, a lot of code repositories, a lot of builds, but they're all in that one team project.
Okay.
That's a pretty common way to do things, as opposed to having multiple team projects.
Is that because it was one big application, or was it?
No, well, I think the main reason that a lot of people were suggesting doing that is because of the crossover between teams that need to share work items.
Mm-hmm.
A work item might move sometimes from a team to another team, and there was just other sort of situations like that where it got kind of hard if you had them split out into different team projects. Right? It's always complicated when you have these terminology.
Yep.
Like a team project is not a Visual Studio project.
Yes.
Right. Team project is just this big thing that you know, you share a common well, what's that called? Not profile. The you know, like we're using Agile. It's a template of you know.
Yeah.
There's a name for that. I'm on the spot, so I'm trying to think. Process.
Thank you.
Process.
There you go.
Yeah. So you share a process, and you could share work items, and we have some common things that go across, and it was the best way for us to do it. And it worked well. There's no problem with that.
Oh, cool.
So then, so that's what we had. We moved, we migrated a lot of stuff. I don't remember how big the database, I mean, we're not that big. So our database was probably like 50 gigs or something like that.
Okay.
And I think that's what it was. And when it shrinks down, it's smaller than that. But I thought I remembered it seeing it like 40 or 50 gigs worth of data. So it's not like a tiny little, you know, install.
No, but it's not a trivial.
But it's not
one
like you know, Fortune 500, you know, worldwide stuff.
Sure.
So we wanted to migrate work items, all work items.
Okay.
We wanted to migrate all source code, which includes TFVC, if I'm getting the name right, Team Foundation version control.
Yes. And
Git repos, because we have half and half.
Okay.
We're moving more and more to Git, but takes some time.
Yeah.
So we have both. We have builds. We have queries, teams, permissions, all kinds of stuff. And it all goes. And it all goes pretty easily. It's pretty impressive how easily it goes. And yeah.
Now, did you use a tool to
yeah, so I was going to say, so I don't, I should have shared the link with you. I think I had it in my notes there. If you do, oh, I don't have the link right here. But if you were to look for, you know, what is it, TFS to Azure DevOps Migration, there's like a go-to web page. Has everything. And what they recommend is downloading, there's this really detailed PDF document that has all these instructions. It was thorough, and it was usable, which is more important, because in the past I've seen all kinds of instructions that were sort of hard to follow. And yeah, migrate to Azure DevOps, right? And the first thing it's going to say is download the migration guide and tool.
Yes.
Right? And you get that migration guide, and it pretty much has all the instructions that you would need for a standard install, standard upgrade.
Okay.
Now, we had customizations, and that's where things get kind of tricky. We have customizations in our TFS environment that we needed to get into Azure DevOps.
And what kind of customizations were they?
So a couple of levels of customization. The first that we had was we had some custom work item types.
Okay.
Right? Now, in TFS, you had far more control over your work items and the structure of them, and you know, and it was really powerful. You get less of that in Azure DevOps, which is a trade-off we were willing to accept.
Okay.
It's a trade-off because we don't have to manage it anymore. I mean, you didn't have to, no one had to sell me on migrating to Azure DevOps, right? This was beautiful. No more upgrades for us and things like that.
And we're making sure you get that latest version, because it's always...
The new features show up. We were always behind. We were always a year behind on even the quarterly updates. Like, we just never got, you know, things like that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just hard.
Things are plugging along and work needs to get done.
Yeah, we're
so
busy,
falls,
right?
Right.
So, yeah, so we want to move all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. And the thing that goes along with the updates, DevOps, they're updating every week. They're always doing the latest.
There's so much, right?
Yeah.
And as we're moving to Azure, there's new features in Azure, and we want to make sure that the builds and the deployments have the features that they need to go to Azure and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So there's a lot of good reasons. But so we did use the tool. The instructions are good. But well, we were talking about customizations, right? So we had some custom work items. We had some modifications to work items. We renamed a few work items, but we just use a little bit of our own nomenclature in-house and things like that. And we had a special thing called a release request, which is kind of something of a throwback to an older way of doing deployments, where you have to put instructions into a release request and get them approved. And so for many years that's been a work item.
Right.
Why not have it be a work item, right? There's some features that make that work out pretty well. So along with that, and we still need that actually to this day, because we have code that doesn't have automation around it. Right now we're moving more and more, and I'm happy to say that the teams that I work with are pretty, DevOpsy, pretty automated and stuff. But we have a lot of teams in our organization. We have some older products and things like that.
Sure.
So we still have deployments that someone has to type up instructions and say to the infrastructure people, hey, type, copy this file, do that, So we have this release request. Along with the release request, we had custom link type. Custom link type. So, you can link work items to each other.
Right.
Either they're related to each other or they're a parent-child relationship. So instead of just using a simple related to relationship, when we invented these release requests years ago, we said, let's create a new link type called deployment of, and we would attach the user stories to the release request.
Okay.
Now, you could just call it related to,
sure,
but syntactically, or whatever the word, not syntactically, it just looks better. You say, oh, these work items were deployed by this release request. This release request is a deployment of these user stories.
Okay,
right?
nice.
And it worked really well. One of the things you don't get in Azure DevOps is custom link type. Okay, we can work around that. We can work around a few of the customizations. The other customization we had, and I talked about this last week as well, is we have a custom UI for certain users that aren't really TFS or now Azure DevOps users. And these are business users that certainly could use Azure DevOps, but for the amount of time they use in it, we want to give them a simple UI that has 5 fields. And this is the application you need an enhancement to. Here, blah blah blah. Here's a couple things you want to do.
Right.
You submit that, and when that got submitted, it would get hooked into TFS at the time. And in addition, different notifications would go out. Notifications outside of the TFS system, or now outside of the Azure DevOps system. And TFS was pretty pluggable to do those kind of things. And we built our own little message queue that would, TFS would dump messages in there, and then it would run, and it would pick up the messages, format them, send them out, blah, blah, blah. So to do that now, we switched that over to an Azure function. And we can trigger that Azure function really easily from Azure DevOps. There's webhooks that you can trigger from all kinds of events. Like cool. A work item changed, a release, a deployment completed. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And so we had to take our extensibility and rethink them, but we were able to get there.
What was what happens when that information heads over to the function? So the webhook calls the function, says here's the task that got updated, or
what it gets, the Azure DevOps sends a JSON representation of the work item.
Okay.
And it includes all of the fields, and it includes the I don't want to say before and after, but there's probably like what values were changed, like what did they look like beforehand? What's that?
The new value, old value.
Yeah, new value, old value is probably what it's called. Yeah. So you get all that information. So you can, at that point, you've basically got the whole work item.
Okay.
I haven't looked at attachments. There's probably links to the attachments sent along, I would guess, just from what I can remember about the JSON. It's pretty big. I actually thought it was going to be like just an ID, and then maybe I would have to go into Azure DevOps and query it manually and get the work item, but no. Whole thing comes along for the ride, and then you can do anything you want in an Azure function. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
And then I guess that's how your business people are looking at that information that changed.
Yes, well, so what we have it set up is that those Azure functions create like a send grid email.
Okay.
And that email has it a little nicer formatted. It's a custom message, and the link in there takes them not to Azure DevOps, but into that dashboard that we wrote.
Got it.
Right. So if I let Azure DevOps do the messaging for me in that case, it would send them to the wrong place. The user would get the wrong link. So
Yeah.
we were able to, convert that stuff over without too much trouble. And but the migration was a long process. I don't want to. When I say it was good, the instructions are great, generally pretty smooth. But we practiced this thing. We spent months planning for this thing, because we basically knew we were going to have a weekend where we're going to say to everybody, we're taking everything down. We can do that. Some places can't do that. I don't know how they operate. We said, well, we didn't think it was going to take a weekend, but we said, well, we'll do it on a Friday night. We'll get it started. And it took longer than we expected due to some hiccups. But it went really well. We had a detailed list of instructions. Like, we wrote our own instruction sheets. We practiced it. We did dry runs, which they recommend in the instruction sheet.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they let you do dry runs for free.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
Even though you might have 100 users, you can do an Azure DevOps dry run import, and you're not paying for those licenses until you're sure what's going on. And the dry run will delete itself after like 20 days or 30 days or something like that. Okay. So it just kind of disappears. Sometimes that was a little tricky for us. They would, we're like, oh, we better do a new dry run because the old one's going to go away. But it was great.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we have a question.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
so how have the employees responded, to the migration that they're kind of looking at in using as the DevOps environment as opposed to the on-prem?
So it's a little bit of a mix.
Okay.
I think in general, it's good. By the way, everybody's happy. The things about the migration, everyone, well, not everyone. A lot of people get a little stressed when we're making a change, regardless of the change.
Change will do that.
People are nervous. Where's my stuff? Is everything good? The UI of Azure DevOps is probably the piece that I'm hearing the frustration about. It's a big, complicated UI. It's got so many features in there, and people find it a little hard to navigate. But they're pretty happy with everything that we've done. They're pretty happy with the usability of the UI as they're getting used to it. There was a lot of questions. You get a lot of questions about. So you have to sort of be prepared for people to ask you like all these questions, like, well, how do I do this? How do I do that?
Right.
And while I'd like to say, Google it, because that's what I did, right? A lot of times we have to, go through and help people. There were some other issues that, people had to set up. We have some other applications that do things directly into TFS, like that build other types of products.
Okay.
Like Final Builder, right?
Yep.
You familiar with Final Builder? Or BizTalk?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We still have BizTalk. We're in a process of, as a matter of fact, you're familiar with this. We've met, and we've talked about the fact that we're moving BizTalk into Azure Service Bus and things like that. So there was a lot of like little things, like not little. That's a significant thing, but we had to make sure that Final Builder could talk to Azure DevOps and pull its source code down from there and things like that. I think the employees were nervous. Knock on wood, it went well thanks to the hard work of one of my coworkers, Ryan, and myself. We put a lot of time into it. It went pretty well, and so I think that saved the day. There's another question here. So it says, besides Googling, do you find any well-contained resource to on-ramp someone into Azure DevOps, Pluralsight or something? No, we didn't really. Now, the good thing is, again, and maybe this isn't the case for everyone, we're coming from TFS to Azure DevOps.
Right.
So feature-wise, and that's not to say that Azure DevOps doesn't have more features than TFS does. It does. There's far more features. But if you take the new features out, right, and you pretend they don't exist, and you say, I'm a TFS user, I need to use Azure DevOps, the transition's not that hard, right? You got a lot of the same stuff. What's a little tricky is, again, the navigation. Finding your way around. Well, they renamed code is now
the repos. Yeah.
All right. You get the hang of that.
Yeah.
They renamed, I don't know, work items or whatever it was called in the old one, and now it's called board. Okay. Yeah. People start getting a hang of it pretty quick. Another, one thing that was, and it's still a little bit of a shift for people, was the changing in like the builds and things like that.
Okay.
And making sure that all our builds work, and we had some sort of legacy stuff in the builds. We had and people are just migrating them. I don't think anyone thinks it's bad at all. Actually, I think they all pretty much are like, oh, this is way better. But they have to go in, and some of the builds they have to tweak this, tweak that, tweak this, and we have a lot of builds, and so people had to spend some time doing that.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm sure there are some good courses out there. You got the docs up? Is that what you're looking at? Or?
Yeah. So I mean, that's typically where our doc.com, which has all of the documentation specific to the Azure DevOps documentation, is pretty robust up there with what we've been doing, making all of this available to get a sense of what's out there. The other thing that is there, if you're interested in this, I'm sure this is still Azure, maybe you can try this, sure, but Azure DevOps Lab, essentially a place where you can go and basically run through some step-by-step instructions to a number of the typical things that you would do inside of a DevOps environment, right? So whether it's starting to use some of the cool features that are up there with portfolio planning and the portfolio management board, or just being able to create pipelines as code using the YAML definitions. All of those are there. Then you can fit into it, create lab, install a project or have a project created inside of your DevOps environment, and then be able to use the lab to walk through that. So that's one of the cool ways, we've been sharing with people.
That's cool.
And
thanks, by the way. I was taking a drink, and you switched back
I switched
to me.
back, yeah.
It's okay. So there's a lot of good information out there.
Yep.
Bottom line, there's a lot of good information out there.
Yeah, and there is a on Channel 9, there's a DevOps channel on 9 that obviously Donovan Brown and people from his team.
Now, why would you want to hear from Donovan Brown when you can hear from people like us? The great Donovan Brown. Donovan Brown did the keynote at the second Tech Bash, or was he the first? He was the second, I believe, the second keynote speaker. He's great.
He is awesome.
Gosh, he just oozes enthusiasm and passion and smarts for all this kind of stuff, and it's so great to to hear his presentations. And his team is really good. Everybody on his team is impressive. So if they have a channel where he's on there, I think that would be good stuff.
Yeah, here we go. The DevOps Lab. So they have a whole league of extraordinary.
Yeah, that crazy name that they have.
So yes, all of these guys are here and talking about the cool things that you can do inside of DevOps. So these little 10, 15 minutes of video give you a sense of what you can get involved, get into.
Yeah, that's cool. That's Abel in the video, I believe, on that shot, but that is not Damian Brady standing next to him. So that's funny because the thing says by Damian and Abel, but that's okay.
Yeah,
that's.
I guess that's.
I'm sure maybe he comes in later.
Yeah,
can't tell who that is. Oh, talks to Dependra. That must be Dependra right there. Yeah. Okay, cool. So there's lots of good stuff. We did have a request from at work. Someone said, are we going to do training?
Right.
And quite frankly, I said, no, we're not going to do training. I said, basically, I think we have enough people that, we can make a simple transition. We're kind of used to it, and then help each other.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work out pretty well.
In your org, you have, I guess, Scrum Masters, or whatever you call it. I mean, they would the kind of the go-to person for those who might get stuck something in or having an understanding of work issues.
Well, they would be more involved in work items, and then the developers and the architects, we expect them to lead on things like how to do, using the source control features, whether it be Git or TF and those kind of things, and let's move from there.
Nice. Yeah. It's always good to have somebody to go to, especially while there are things that you kind of get yourself in a bind around between checking in and this weird message side, and all right,
and you're panicking.
Yeah, and you don't want to do the wrong thing. And Chris, I'm sure is if he's listening to this in the after, he has a really great talk around Git, how he kind of takes all the fear out of doing really what seemed like great things. video that
going like this. Here, put up that video right there. Yeah, and I'm not an expert with Git, but I know enough to be dangerous, and it works really well. Git's great.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. So what do we want to keep talking about migration stuff, or what do you want to talk about?
Well, I think we're getting kind of close. We're trying to keep this one at least close to an hour. I think
last week we talked for like 6 hours.
It sort of felt like it was fun. It was a blast. It went by quick, but I will throw one last bit. If you guys have questions out there, anything else you want to ask Andy about the DevOps migration he did, we can take a couple minutes to do that.
Yeah, I would love to talk. You know, I had some notes on my screen here about things. You know, we said we might talk about this migration. I had so many notes and things to talk about, and you know, potential examples of situations, and you know, but you know, it could go on forever. And this goes so fast this time, and you know, I would suggest though, definitely follow those instructions. Write your own instructions. Walk through it. It's a little tricky because we had to go from TFS 2017 into TFS 2018 first.
Sure.
And then it's time consuming to do that. So each one of our walkthroughs took a long time because we had to take TFS 2018 and upgrade that, and then we had to generate a DAC pack from that, and then bring it into Azure DevOps, and it took 5 hours each time you wanted to bring it from your DAC pack into Azure DevOps. The migration tool is great.
How many times did you run through?
We probably ran through. We did like a couple of run-throughs of the first half and a couple of run-throughs of the second half, right? So you know, we had all these different parts of it. Overall, we probably practiced each thing, you know, 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
Maybe a little, maybe more than that.
That's reasonable.
Really
I mean,
yeah, it's reasonable, right? All of it was reasonable. We had a lot of customizations that we had to do in between certain steps before we could like turn it on, and we had to go in and manually configure work item changes and make sure we hooked up this thing and make sure we hooked up our connection to Octopus Deploy, which we still use for a lot of our deployments, and that works too, by the way, right? It's like, okay, everything we kind of wanted to do, we're like, okay, it works, which is a really good feeling. Like along the way, we were confident because things were working.
That's cool.
Yeah. I should probably turn it like the whole migration into a talk. I don't know. Is that too limited a talk for like a you know, a code camp or a tech bash or a yeah, right, or thanks or a Wednesday night, you know, meeting? Is that too specific? Because not everybody's going from 2017 to Azure DevOps.
I don't think it's that specific. I don't think it's too specific. I think everybody's moving from something. If you want to get into DevOps environment, you got at 2018 level. So everybody's got to go do some kind of a migration. Potentially, you would think.
Yeah.
A good portion of people are going to have to do some kind of migration from whatever on-prem to at least 2018, and that muscle, and then figure out what stand and get those steps. And then from 2018, that's kind of where everybody else is. You know, regardless, that's going to be common for everybody. So I think it'd be worth hearing about.
Yeah.
Because, you know, some of the things shared here, I'm sure there's more that you have there, as well as, you know, the different things you're able to do now. You've got access to webhooks and the functions.
Oh yeah.
Like that. And webhooks, you know, we're using those DevOps webhooks that are firing off to actually for us right into a Teams channel, and have the team and have our development team, somebody pull request, somebody's new work item, and see those landing in there. And if there are questions, comments around that, you can do that right inside the team channel in that thread, and it all stays there for whoever project. Cool.
So, yeah, the collaboration stuff is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Statue saying he was debugging some old JavaScript code and listening in the background. We'll take our listeners any way we can, right? Yeah, that's a great way to work, right? You're in the conversation, you're hearing things, getting some work done.
Yeah.
God, I can only imagine what his old JavaScript code. I mean, I wonder how old is old, right? Because there's old JavaScript and then there's old JavaScript, right? The way we used to do JavaScript is rough.
Yeah, there was, depending how far back he goes, there could be some challenges.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so maybe it would make for a good talk on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if you're catching up later on in Oh, it's just Node 6.
Oh, come on. Yeah,
Not
that's
that
not
big a
old.
deal.
You should see some of my old JavaScript, you know? Lots of jQuery.
Yeah. No, I think, and if for those listening online, obviously if you do it at a talk at Philly.net or you do it Philly Action Channel as well,
Yeah.
find a slide somewhere.
Yeah.
See if so if you're hearing this, watching this, and you're interested, comment below.
Yeah. Let us know.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Now, you know, I wonder, is there any thought, have you guys considered doing shows where it's like a talk, like a presentation on a Wednesday night, but like say, let's just do it here in the studio and do the demo and do the talk, and then it's recorded and it's there for, you know.
I think there's always trying to reinvent or take advantage of kind of what's the latest trying
Yeah.
to be interested in learning. So, you know, there's some benefit to having everybody come together and be in a meeting face to face, right? You know, there's a lot of people who are in that environment, you know, work from home or maybe work in a situation where they don't necessarily get a lot of interaction and contact with people. So coming out here and spend a little bit of the time socializing, doing that, I think there's a benefit to having the physical meeting.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a fan of them.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it. Yeah.
But I also think there's and kind of in that limbo space right now where I think there's also equal opportunity to have people not have to worry about driving or not have to worry about, because it happens for us at Rushmore. You know?
Not everybody's got access either.
Right.
They don't live around here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously with a person from Algeria, we have somebody who was on the stream last week from up in the Scranton area.
Nice.
Saying, you know, they don't have anything like this up there, and hey, yeah, it's great you guys are doing this on the stream. So the reach currently gets out there.
Scranton is near Tech Bash, by the way. Just saying, if that person is on now,
yes,
they should check out
John, if you're still listening,
techbash.com.
Yeah, it's probably closer for you to get there than for me to get there.
Definitely. So. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I think, and it's one of the, it's certainly one of those things that we're kind of talking about. You know, what is the future of when you start thinking about technology? There might be those things where the physical meeting is coach, which we like.
Yeah.
You know,
right. Who knows? Who knows, right? But we didn't get to write any code tonight.
We didn't get to that, no.
We just started going and going. So maybe we could do another show. You know, I'm inviting myself back.
Of course. Yeah. You kind of have an open invitation at this point. So I think it'll be interesting. And one of the reasons we wanted to make sure we did one this week is next week, for those who follow the Philly.net group and the meetup environment that we have, next week is our Kids Can Code, which is a great event that we have here. 2 sessions, and I forget the age ranges Chris divided them up into, but basically it is a younger audience. So let's say, you know, 10, 11-ish and younger, and then an older group. And we have 2 presentations. See if I can bring that up real quick. But having Sonia, who done the she's done Code Camp twice.
Is that she's like 16 or something? Yeah, she's great.
Incredible
machine learning stuff.
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing to see the things you can do with those.
So she's coming in.
She will be here. Bring this up. So,
and that's not going to be streamed live because there's kids, right?
Exactly. So we're just going to leave it as an in-person event only. So because of it's one of those things where, you know, we're not really sure what's going to happen with the Philly Tech show after, because everybody's a kid.
Right. So Benny, if you're still listening, my son was on this before. I did see his note. He said, "Are we having fun?" And certainly we are. I'm having fun.
Always have fun.
Yeah. But Benny, we could talk about Kids Can Code Night if you want to come. Maybe you and Sarah. I don't know if you guys want to come. We can look into that. I brought each of my kids to them before. Yeah. They are awesome on a couple of levels. Yeah. I want to sort of promote that Kids Can Code Night a little bit. Mm-hmm. The first thing, and props to Steve Michelotti, who I believe is the one who sort of got the whole thing rolling. Yeah. The first part, forgetting about any of the technology stuff, is that for I don't know how many years I've been coming to meetings on Wednesday night with Bill Wolf and the gang and Rob Kaiser and everybody else that participates in these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big part of my life, right? And for a lot of people. And having my kids come and sit in that room and come to a meeting with me was really, really cool. Because then when I talk about a meeting and they're like, oh, Dad, I know what you're talking about. I've been in that room. I know what you mean. Oh, there's a person who gets up and presents. And they don't understand the complicated stuff that we're maybe talking about. Some of it's not that complicated that we talk. Some of it is, but having that connection, I felt really good about, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, your kids learning really cool stuff, and the kids that are doing the presentation, that's just even better. Those kids are really getting a experience that's invaluable. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and that kind of completes the circle, right? It's not only the kids
totally.
who are in the audience, but kids who are up there giving the presentation, teaching them about, in one case, learning, and I think in the other one, it is just basically doing a code.org session, essentially. So with great content. So
and Statue's saying that a lot of the other user groups don't do that, which is interesting. It's a shame. I mean, I think there's I think it's a reproducible pattern or something like that. Like it could be, well, I mean, the one that does it, I guess, is Maryland, I think, which is where Steve Michelotti is, right? Is he Maryland or Virginia?
He's from down that way.
They started it, and we got the idea from them when he came up here. But wouldn't it be great if more groups were doing that? I mean, there are certain groups that are just designed for young girls to learn to code. I've seen some of that great stuff. The work they're doing.
DigiGirls and groups like that. Right.
And I think a lot of the events are doing it, like at Tech Bash, which again, this was not our original idea. We've got a kids' family day where some of it's fun and some of it's coding and some technical stuff, and that's popular in larger conferences, not the large corporate types.
Well, they had the announcement at Build This, right, where you could basically bring blanking on the age.
Yeah, but even Build is trying to do that. Yeah. So that's cool.
You can go out there for free, and
wow. So if I can look like I'm a kid, can I go to Build for free? Like, and I'll just, I don't know, put on
if you manage to find that secret, let me know. Yeah.
I need to, something like that is not going to be that easy to pull off.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's coming up.
So that's coming up next week, and that may or may not. I'm trying to. It would be interesting to see if we could do something after.
I would love for you and Chris to be on afterwards. See if there are, again, this is just me throwing out ideas live, putting you on the spot here.
Of course.
With parents' permission, you may get a kid or two to come up that might want to be interviewed, or maybe one of the speakers, one of the kids that did the presentations, just because it's just great. For people to hear those stories, for them to feel like they're a part of this community, which extends beyond the walls now and is online. Now, of course, you got to be careful with kids.
And that's why we don't.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, we'll figure out something, and if it's not Wednesday, maybe it's figure something. But we'll keep an eye on the stream. If we're gonna be able to do a broadcast, we'll post on the social stuff as well as make an event for it in YouTube quick. But I think with that, probably wind it down. Say that's the show.
That's a show.
Nice.
That's awesome. I mean, this is fun.
I know.
I love coming in here. I really do.
Cool.
It's so much fun. It's fun it's probably more fun when Chris is here.
I think it's fun in general. It's that I think we were talking about it just a little bit earlier. It's that conversation and just the the interaction, the back and forth. And we've got some great interaction on the chat, which helps as well.
Oh,
right?
yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's awesome.
So with that, thank you, Andy, for filling in for Chris. But hopefully we'll see you back here again as well. Maybe do it again at threesome.
It's my pleasure to be here. It's just always great. I'm on board. I'm always picking up the phone to come in here anytime you want me. Thanks to everybody. Comments and stuff like that. It was fun.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for everybody who's joining online. And comment below for questions, suggestions you have. We'll do all again next week. Bye.